Hello, my name is Jeff Hoey of Reliable Softworks. We are the developers of ReliaSale Point of Sale and ReliaServe Field Service Solutions, and I will be your host for today's webinar, Creating a Profitable Service Operation, presented by Mike Barron. Mike is the managing partner of a 6-store retail chain selling and servicing appliances, furniture, mattresses, and home electronics. Over the last 7 years, Mike has reduced his service support headcount by more than 50% and increased his profit by 250% using the principles he will explain in this presentation. Throughout the presentation, you may submit questions for discussion at the end of the presentation by using the chat box on the left side of your screen. If this didn't pop up when you logged in, there is an arrow in the lower left corner which will minimize or expand the chat box as you desire. Okay, it looks like we're ready to go. Mike, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, please begin.
Hi. Today I'm going to discuss the 10 best practices to creating a profitable service department. This is also my story of a service organization with poor customer service, which was losing hundreds of thousands of dollars annually, and how it turned itself into a finely tuned, profitable organization. Many business owners think that to make their service department more profitable, they need to figure out how to charge higher rates. This is not true, and probably not even possible in today's market. The way to become profitable is to implement the best practices of service department operations. For retail dealers or technology integrators, having an effective service or installation department is an important tool for growing product sales. Customers can punish you for a bad service experience, but they're also willing to reward you when a service issue has been professionally corrected. In 2005, I took over our family's 4-store TV and appliance sales and service company. At the time, our service department had 12 technicians, 2 parts people, 5 customer service reps, and a department manager. We had a computer system, and our service visit charge was $59. Our people thought they were making a killing in service. Many owners and managers I speak with today have a similar attitude when they tell me, "Oh yeah, we make great money in service. We mark up parts at least 45%, and our bill rates are triple what we pay our techs." Unfortunately, as I dug into the numbers, including phones, occupancy, fuel, vehicles, and support people, I was shocked to learn we weren't making money at all. In fact, we were losing $300,000 per year. Growing up in the business, I was told service was a necessary evil, and although it was a pain getting techs, we had to deal with it if we wanted our sales to grow, despite the fact we were losing money. I didn't accept the part about losing money, but it would take me years of effort to learn how to actually make money in service. At first, it looked like a hopeless task. The morale of our staff was bad. They received nothing but negative remarks from customers, employees, and vendors. Every time we hired a new person, they quickly became demoralized. No one ever thought anything could ever improve. I was at a loss until I discovered Jim Evans. Jim had run several Whirlpool factory service centers and was a career-long mentor on service best practices. Jim became a management trainer at my local retail association and was developing the Appliance Repair Institute, a training program for new service technicians. Working closely with Jim, we honed and implemented the following 10 best practices. I can attribute my service success to the best practices I learned by working with Jim Evans. Thanks to Jim, I was developing a vision of a much better place, a positive, profitable service work environment. If I could turn around the performance, attitudes would change. Completing more calls would reduce backlog. And best of all, our customers would not be so angry at our staff. Our salespeople would be proud to send clients to our service department. Completing calls with fewer trips and shorter cycle times would ultimately make our customers satisfied. Then I could hire and retain positive individuals who would remain happy, and we could finally minimize losses, and we might even make money. Over time, as we uncovered the critical pain points, we discovered something very simple. Each pain point had a very understandable solution, and these solutions had a natural workflow. That's how the 10 best practices list was formed. Here is the list we developed. First, we would create minimally acceptable performance benchmarks. Then, we would open up immediate communication channels. We followed this with a pre-screen of all service calls. When a second trip was needed for parts, we would schedule all return trips at the time of the first visit. Next, we would collect all money due at or before the first visit. Next, we make service staff accountable yet independent. We had to empower them. To grade our progress, we surveyed the customers. Then we measured and paid service staff based on performance. We closed the loop on warranty jobs, so we established an error-proof warranty claim submission. And finally, we leveraged technology to achieve the results. I will discuss each one. Our first step was to create minimally acceptable performance benchmarks for all service staff. We had to understand our starting point so we could see if we were making progress. Once we knew our grade, it was easy to measure improvement and identify deficiencies. We started by measuring the existing performance and identifying the critical pain points. Here are several examples of the actual measurements in our business. The average tech revenue per day was only $160. One day is defined as each 8 hours worked. The first-time completion ratio was only 26% of all service tickets. Our support to tech ratio was 1 customer service rep to 2 techs. And we were paying 2 parts persons to support our 10 techs. Through this work, Jim and I discovered our industry peers had the same service misperceptions. Their standards of performance were just like mine, an emotional guess that was not based on the facts. The next step was to define the performance I wanted and needed. Here are 4 of the performance goals I started with. Tech revenue per day goal, $300 per 8 hours worked. First time completion ratio, 80%. Ratio of support staff to techs, 1 to 5. And we hoped we could get down to 1 parts person. These goals were quite aggressive compared to our starting point. I had a lot of work in front of me. Our next task was to create immediate communication channels for both technicians and customers. If you want to understand what's going on, it's essential to communicate with both your techs and your customers. So we contacted our customers and we gathered feedback. We shared the consumer feedback with the techs and asked the techs for solutions. We worked real hard to keep the communications two-way. It was not just management complaining about the techs and the customers complaining to the management. So we conducted regular service staff meetings to discuss performance and ways to improve. An effective two-way communication strategy is critical if you want your changes to stick and be long-lasting. The next best practice may seem redundant, but from our earliest analysis and Jim Evans' advice, the idea and importance of pre-screening every service call grew. Techs hate to walk into a hornet's nest, and we wasted trips by showing up without the obvious parts. If we looked at every new call that came in, so we could assign the correct parts, the right number of techs, etc., we would have the ability to significantly improve the likelihood of a first-time completion. A pre-screen is a detailed review of the call prior to the initial visit. This often meant contacting the consumer and researching fault codes online. This task is best completed by a senior technician, the go-to technician. We would later learn that this was the single most important behavior needed to improve first-time completes. When at the customer's home, make sure you schedule all return trips at the time of the first visit. In the beginning, we were terrible at following up after the first visit. Our first visit response was excellent and easy. That's when we fell apart. We had customer parts waiting weeks for parts installation. And our customers called us repeatedly to ask, "Is my part in?" As a result, the consumer got tired of chasing us, and many jobs were never scheduled nor completed. As a result, our customers became angry, parts on the shelves grew old, and were eventually scrapped. We corrected this problem by scheduling the return while in the client home. What better time to schedule than when you're in the consumer's kitchen with the homeowner? So what if you don't know when the parts will be in? Schedule it anyway. This workflow process works at least 80% of the time, and you can manage the exceptions as exceptions. If you fail to schedule the return trip while you're in the home and while the customer still loves you, you'll have my old problems. Difficulty in connecting with the customer later, parts inventory swelling, and the backlog of incomplete calls growing. And very soon, very unhappy customers. Focus on what servicers do best. Fix the problem. Avoid what servicers traditionally do poorly. Chasing the money. Is it possible to engineer out the element of chasing the money? Yes. State your payment terms when the call is initiated. Get the Visa card number and run it if possible. If a second trip is required, quote and collect for the entire first trip, along with the total cost of parts. As a best practice, always quote the job before proceeding. So if a return trip is required, get a financial commitment from the customer, such as full payment of parts, to ensure they won't change their mind. The objective with collecting the money is to get the customer's mental commitment toward the repair. So here's what happens. The customer says, "Let me check with my spouse." And we say, "Sure." The problem is, they never get back to us. Until they call and say, "Are those parts in yet?" And we respond, "I was waiting to hear from you." Then the pissing match begins, and we have missed our opportunity to collect for the parts. That is, the customer does not have mental or financial commitment, so the repair becomes less important as time passes. Many of these jobs never get completed. They clog up our parts areas with dollars. Even worse, they clutter our work order system with bogus jobs. In time, we have so many open jobs, we can't make heads or tails of them. The customers ignore our calls to finish the job because they've purchased a new unit at the competition. And we just wait in a state of chaos, so much wasted time chasing down dead work orders. Worst of all, if this is a think about it job and we didn't collect for diagnostics, we'll never get paid. This problem can be solved with rock solid payment terms and business rules. First, follow-up work requires upfront payment commitment. And second, establish a solid process to eliminate bogus open orders. Make sure service staff is accountable yet independent. We observed one common technician behavior. A repair gone bad was never their fault. The parts guy ordered the wrong part. The vendor shipped a different part. Additional parts were required and nobody told me. Techline gave me the wrong advice. Or the product was just poorly designed. There is only one way to overcome the blame game. Make each tech accountable for their performance. If a part is required, make the technician look up the part. Of course, ensure your techs are adequately trained by the vendors and communicate that you expect professional behavior. Don't let your techs blame anyone else. In addition, make sure customer support staff are accountable for their tasks, including scheduling, estimated time of arrivals, and customer callbacks, as each of these influences service department performance. Survey your customers. Did your tech complete the repair? Is the customer happy? They may be happy their product has been fixed, but are they happy with the service experience? Was your technician dressed professionally? Did he or she provide protective coverings for the workspace area? Did he clean up? Did he complain about your company or the product? Bottom line, did the tech have a positive and professional attitude? You'd better find out. Get a third party to call your clients and ask them how their experience went. Use a third party because if you use internal staff, they will almost never throw their coworkers under the bus. If you conduct surveys, live surveys, you'll really understand what the customer is experiencing. You might even be shocked at what you learn. And if your staff earns bonuses based on the level of customer satisfaction, they'll improve their performance. One important suggestion: initiate surveys before your staff knows you plan to do this. You'll be happy you did. Measure and pay service staff for performance. Technicians are competitive, and they want their customers to be happy. While a commission plan is the purest pay-for-performance method to use, it does not work well for all techs or with all customers. As an alternative, consider a plan providing incentives for first-time completes and or incremental labor per trip revenue for each 8 hours worked. Rewarding techs for meeting company goals is vital to achieving company objectives. Jim Evans told me exactly what to measure, saving years of trial and error. In the beginning, I tried measuring everything, but it was just too complicated. Jim straightened me out. He said, since the business performance is based on completed and invoiced calls, the techs must have the same measuring stick. It is not necessary to measure visits per day because the visits per day fold into completes per day automatically. The resulting labor per trip revenue follows the completed trips. Once we focused on completed jobs, first-time completion ratios helped us to watch efficiency. Once our confidence was up in completed calls and first-time completes, we found it easier to grasp the cycle time performance. Cycle time is a great tool to identify if things are falling through the cracks. When you measure these details, the data will contain everything you need to create an effective technician incentive program. Technicians can only be successful if the entire team is successful. You need measurement criteria for the entire department. First-time completes, completed calls, cycle times, and revenue per 8 hours. These are the key benchmarks for technicians, and they should be the benchmarks for the entire department. First-time completes are a reflection of the effectiveness of pre-screening and the accuracy of parts inventory, including the parts on service trucks. Cycle time identifies problems with return trip follow-up and the efficiency of parts procurement. And everyone understands the revenue yardstick. Every company has a firefighting mode where they leap into action to correct a mistake or recover from a memory lapse. Bad companies do this often, repeat it regularly, and they can't figure out how to change. Better companies don't do it as much, but are still focused on eliminating firefighting mistakes. Unfortunately for them, their mistake is not that they aren't good firefighters, but they aren't good at preventing customer fires. Fighting customer fires is a rare exception at the best companies because they learned how to get everyone involved in doing it right the first time. You must be able to accurately measure first-time completes and revenue per day to change behaviors. Understanding cycle time is important. Once again, according to the wisdom and experience of Jim Evans, a job begins on the day the client requests the service and ends on the day the job is completed and invoiced. There can be no variations for any reason to this definition. Cycle time for a department is the total number of aging days for every completed job by every technician divided by the number of jobs. The result is the average number of days it takes to complete a single job. Cycle time reflects much more than just the technician's capability. It reflects how prepared the company is for the job, how efficiently it can acquire parts and materials, and how fast the tech can return to the job and finish it. Cycle time has a huge influence on customer satisfaction. Here's an example of an individual's and the department's performance report with a color-coded reference to departmental averages. It does not matter if you pay by the hour, commission, or salary. The objective is the same. Focus on completed jobs, increasing first-time completes, improving cycle times, and measuring performance through labor per trip revenue for each 8 hours worked. The per 8 hours worked is critical because without it, some techs will just bag you for extra overtime pay to increase their personal wages. This shows false performance and fake improvement, undermining your total department objective. Establish error-proof warranty claim submission. Many companies will make great improvements by providing competent customer service reps, pre-screening their calls, hiring professional techs, and completing a high percentage of calls on the first visit. But they fail in the final step, the step where they get paid. Data collection and submission must include the automatic fault codes and resolutions, including the invoice numbers for warranty parts and their costs, to ensure you get the warranty payments you deserve. Don't avoid this issue, thinking you're going to catch up with the paperwork later when you get to it. Establish an auditable process and follow up with your staff on a regular basis. I tried setting up spreadsheets to collect the data, but it wasn't a practical solution. It required constant manual updates, running reports, and compiling the results. I just didn't have the time. Find a technology that will do the work for you. Then leverage the newest technologies to improve your performance. Once you have the best practices implemented, you can improve productivity and ROI through an increased use of automation, which results in improved customer satisfaction and increased productivity. So what's the reward for this extra effort? Profitability at the end of the year. Here are some examples. Today's customers want the ability to resolve their problems when they experience them, which means you need to be available to accept their service requests 24/7. Customer self-service for scheduling. Impossible? Not with the technology available to you today. You can leverage technology and empower the consumer to set up their own call while simultaneously conforming to your business rules. If their needs don't fit your scheduled offerings, don't worry, they'll call you anyway. While many clients will not venture to self-schedule, the mere fact that you offer this service sets you apart as an innovator in your market. This gives your sales teams yet another benefit to talk about. Having real mobile capabilities will set your business apart from the competition. Mobile technology will impress your clients because they know you've leveraged every possible tool to get them up and running quickly. Providing mobile technology will also help you attract the new best-of-breed technician that you're trying to recruit. More importantly, having an effective mobile technician solution will make you more money. Mobile capability will give the ability to shorten cycle times, increase first-time completes, and improve client satisfaction. Payments for warranty work have traditionally been a manual process, with constantly changing rules, a lower pay scale, and a design by the manufacturers to reject your submissions and pay you less for your efforts. Many companies have figured out how to automatically submit claims, but they still aren't getting paid the amount they deserve. Why is this? They haven't figured out how to collect and submit the right data. This is the hard part. Data collection and submission must include the automatic fault codes and resolutions, the automated invoice numbers for warranty parts and their costs, combined with a thorough but automatic audit process to ensure you get the warranty payments you deserve. With today's requirements, you need to automate warranty processing. This is a nearly impossible task to do manually. So here we are, the 10 steps, one at a time. The journey required hard work, but the results are the payback. It took me years to figure this out, but today I rest easy at night, knowing My customers are happy. My company's response times are respectable. And our service department is a pleasant place to work in. Our service team had regained the confidence of our sales staff, and our customers confirm our success with positive feedback. In addition, I can point to two very positive outcomes. First, my service results improved by $300,000 annually, and our aggressive service efforts and new service reputation became key factors in our company's revenue growth, with company sales and profits up 250% over the last 6 years. When our business focused on the customer service experience, the profit followed. Now, if there are any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Thank you very much, Mike. There are a couple of questions that came in while you were presenting. The first one was, how do you do pre-screening, and who does pre-screening for you?
Okay, so how do we do pre-screening? Well, you've got to look at it this way. Every call that comes in during the course of the day needs to go to an inbox. And that inbox is available to a senior go-to technician that will review those calls and update those calls with any parts that may be necessary to complete that call on a first time. This is one of those tasks that is very easily done with some automation, but it can be done manually or through an automated system, but it is the most critical part to keeping your customers in check.
Do you pay all your techs on commission? And if you don't, what plan do you use?
That's a good one. So the way we pay our techs, we do have some of our techs that are on straight commission. However, my favorite program is techs that are on an hourly, which have a performance bonus based on meeting service revenue per 8 hours worked. And what we do here is we have some bogey points, and when they meet each of these bogey points, they receive a bonus award. And this is designed so each week is a new contest. So if for whatever reason a tech has a week that just didn't, the stars just didn't align for them, then the following week they can start fresh, and they're not worried about paying back a draw or digging themselves out a hole. So they are much more positive with the customers.
By the way, if anybody would like more information and specifics from Mike, you can email me at jhoey@reliablesoftworks.com, and I will forward these messages on to Mike for his response. The next question is, if you need to order a part, but you don't know what that part is yet, maybe it's for an older appliance, do you still schedule a return trip, and do you still collect money from the customer?
Okay, so we try to schedule every return trip. If you fall off this bandwagon, you're going to notice that your parts room is going to swell, and you're going to have many aged jobs. So the answer is we always try to schedule immediately. Now, there will be two exceptions, and the exceptions will be cosmetic parts. So if you're ordering cosmetic parts, they can take a very long time. So you may treat those a little different. And as far as collecting the money, even if you don't have a clue of how much the part will cost, and you really do know, at least you have some clue, even though you feel you don't have a clue, even though you don't know what it's going to specifically cost, you got to take at least some commitment from the customer. Whether it be $20 or $50 or $100, and you can stay with the customer that you will confirm the cost of that part once you get confirmation from the supplier.
The next question, excuse me, I will handle. It says, where did you get the report that you showed the dollars per 8 hours worked? That report, by the way, is from ReliaServe, the product of Reliable Softworks. And if you'd like a demo of the product, you can contact me at my email address, jhoey@reliablesoftworks.com. Next question is, how do you handle, or excuse me, do you get warranty work for items you didn't sell, and how do you handle this warranty work?
Okay, so obviously warranty work does not pay as high as COD type calls. So many companies, if they have limited capacity, they will strategically take less warranty jobs than COD jobs. And the way that we prioritize them is we will always take care of one of our own sales customers first, regardless if it's warranty or non-warranty. And for the remaining jobs that come through, we will certainly prioritize the COD ones first. But what we found is that since we have focused on performance, we have become so efficient that we can take more service calls than we could even dream of taking previously. So our capacity right now is excellent, and we're reaching out to get as many calls as possible, which is amazing.
The next question is, do you offer customer self-scheduling today? And if you do you do every job that comes in for the customer self-service scheduling?
Okay, so the way the self-service scheduling works is it's based on zip code. So if somebody's within my immediate circle of service area, it will allow the client to schedule automatically. If they try to enter a job that's outside of my preferred service circle, then it will respond to the user to call the company to schedule that call.
All right. Next question is, do your techs use mobile devices? And if they do, do they use mobile devices? And do they, one, take money at the customer's home? And what devices do they use?
Okay. All of our technicians use mobile devices. Our device of preference is the iOS type device. And yes, they do take money in the home. They've got a plug-in credit card swiper that integrates with the system, and they can swipe payments in the field and take money.
Well, that was the last question, Mike. So I'd like to thank you very much for your time today and the excellent presentation. And as I said, if you have any questions for Mike, please email me at jhoey@reliablesoftworks.com, and I will pass them on to Mike for his response. Thanks a
Great.
lot, Mike.
Thank you.